Okay, we are live, and now we can start. Dear colleagues, dear guests, and dear participants, it makes me very happy that this topic is receiving so much attention. Thank you for your participation, and we can go ahead. It makes me very happy, I said it. Life expectancy in the EU is rapidly rising. For those born in 2018, their life expectancy is over 70 years for men and also almost 84 years for women. This is an incredible achievement that clearly shows how our healthcare and lifestyle choices lead to be a better and healthier life. But when combined with a low fertility rate, 1.5 live births per woman, it clearly means that our population will be growing older. EU median is expected to be 46.9 years by 2050. We really have to focus our policies on the elderly to prepare for an aging population and to allow the European citizens to live their lives to the fullest and adapt to our ever-changing world. Better quality of life, longer activity aging, better adaptation to the technological developments, resilience to disinformation, prevention of dementia and other diseases, those are just a few remarkable advantages that elderly education can bring. One of the ways to provide quality education to seniors are universities of the third age. The first such university was founded in Toulouse in 1973, and this concept quickly spread around Europe. In the Czech Republic, the first one was founded in 1986 in Olomouc. The universities of the third age have proven to be a great tool for education of seniors. What is necessary, however, is to help those institutions with more support or financing in order to allow them to provide their services to the best of their abilities. We have some amazing guests today concerning our webinar who will speak about how the EU should face this challenge and how we can ensure that every citizen is able to enjoy everything Europe and the modern age has to offer. Those watching through the live cast can send us their question that we will try to answer in the second half of our webinar. Those present with us here on Zoom can send us the question in messages. And now, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Vice President of the European Commission, Dubravka Šuica. With her main portfolio focusing on demography, she has been a strong advocate for the elderly, supporting active aging and improving the European social system. Unfortunately, Madam Vice President was not able to attend in person, but she was kind enough to record a keynote messages for us. Should you have any question regarding the Commission and the Cabinet, the member of Cabinet Astrid Dentler was so kind to stay and participate in the question and answer session. Now, video please. I'm sorry, I can't hear speeches of Mrs. Šuica.
Oui, on n'entend pas le son, effectivement.
No, we cannot hear her, indeed, says Mr. Velas.
Dear Mrs. Maxová, my fellow speakers, honorable members of the European Parliament, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to address your webinar on empowering European seniors with lifelong learning opportunities. By coming together today, we are sending a strong message that Europe's older citizens are high on the European agenda. In my role as Vice President for Democracy and Demography, I focus on the whole life cycle, from the rights of children to those of the elderly. Education is an important thread that runs through my work. Everyone is impacted directly by the prospect of living a longer life, even the young. So aging is relevant to all of us, no matter what age we are. Aging brings both challenges and opportunities, so it is important that we maintain this balance in our policy making for the elderly. But not just the elderly, for everyone across the entire life cycle. Our work in demography shows that our union is aging. We need to have a conversation about this, especially given what we are going through now and what the future is likely to hold for us. Demography is about people's lives, both individually and as a community. And this, of course, includes the elderly. The recent report on the impact of demographic change, which I presented to the college earlier this year, identified longer life expectancy as a major development. It raises the question of how best to manage this good news, because it is good news. Over the last 50 years, life expectancy at birth has increased by 10 years for both men and women. This is a significant achievement. Living longer in better health is one of the highest expectations of European citizens and brings challenges and opportunities. Older persons are the fastest growing age group. Indeed, aging is the demographic mega trend of our European Union. The report indicates the interrelationship between taking action on demographic change and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. It is a strong base for better informed policy making. We are now working on various trends that come out of this report, and the first one up is the Green Paper on Aging. It will be adopted in early 2021 and will launch a wide debate and public consultation on the long-term impacts of aging. We count on wide participation and a wide commitment to make active aging a reality in time increasingly dominated by digitalization. We look at how we lay the foundations for a full life in the early years and how we make the most of our working lives as adults. We are exploring the new opportunities and challenges for the growing needs of an aging population. All these stages require us to look at issues such as care and pensions, active aging, and the capacity of social protection systems to deal with an aging population. We will look at intergenerational solidarity and fairness, impacts on the labor market, the economy and health and care systems, and of course, education and skills. I want to dwell for a few moments on active aging because it illustrates the precious contribution of the elderly and opportunities that arise later in life. Active aging means growing older in good health. It means continuing as a full contributing member of society. It also means keeping healthy. It means mentoring, volunteering, helping the family. It can mean grandparents looking after grandchildren when adult children are working. A beautiful example of intergenerational solidarity. Children are our future, and we are preparing a new comprehensive European strategy for the rights of the child. Active aging also means participating in our democracy, for example, in local communities and municipal councils. As Vice President with responsibility for democracy and the Conference on the Future of Europe in particular, I look forward to hearing the voices of the elderly in our deliberations. The elderly are incredibly resourceful and make a precious contribution to society, as I already mentioned. On the other hand, lifelong learning keeps us fit, healthy, active, and employable throughout our lives. It provides an opportunity to develop skills we may not have had the opportunity to discover earlier. When we combine these two factors, we come up with an opportunity that should not be missed: the empowerment of seniors. Perhaps you are familiar with the work of Edward Lindemann, the American educator of 1920s. Lindemann pioneered the idea of adult learning and declared that education is life. We can all learn the simple and vital lessons he was teaching us. There is no end point for education. Life is learning. I support this approach fully and say this as a former teacher and university lecturer myself. In our constantly changing society, learning throughout life is crucial for employment, for developing personally and professionally, for acquiring transferable skills such as critical thinking. We observe that elderly people with the right support engage fully with technological and scientific advances. Many use technology to improve their lives by enhancing their self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and social relationships. Indeed, beyond individual benefits, adult learning contributes to improving social cohesion. The European Pillar of Social Rights is the driving force behind our current policies. Its first principle supports the right of everyone to quality and inclusive education, training, and lifelong learning. On the basis of stakeholder consultations, the Commission will present an action plan in early 2021. In our changing society, higher education should support the growing demand of the elderly to follow their desire to deepen, expand, or acquire new knowledge. Many universities are already providing programs or short learning courses for mature learners. Beyond that, there are many more actions and initiatives at the European level. For example, the European Skills Agenda adopted on 1st of July 2020. It is all about developing skills and creating a culture of lifelong learning. The European Agenda for Adult Learning has facilitated European cooperation in adult learning for the last decade. This goes beyond skilling for a job and includes older people who equally need new skills. Health problems, including dementia, that are associated with an aging society can be slowed down or reversed by learning to live an active life. We need to include skills for older people without discrimination. In 2018, we had a wonderful example of this when a Spanish 80-year-old student of history won an Erasmus scholarship to study in Verona, Italy. Learning really is for life. Dear ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, by 2060, 1 in 3 Europeans will be over 65. We can empower them in their bid to live long, healthy, active, and autonomous lives. The fact is, one day we will all be elderly, if we are lucky, of course. Today's event will help to deepen society's conversation on the elderly, their rights, their empowerment, and their lifelong education. Active and healthy aging cuts across many fields. Think about the ability to freely make your own lifestyle choices in later years. Surely, you should be limited only by your imagination. Active aging means that you continue learning new things. The ability to learn starts the day we are born, and there is no age limit to it. Active aging means that you can work for longer and can enjoy a high quality of life and, for example, still travel. Active aging means that you maintain your autonomy. And as aging is not just for the elderly, but in fact concerns us all, we must educate others in recognizing the active and positive role of older people in our society and build the intergenerational solidarity that is so necessary for our European Union today and in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your speech, for your nice word, and for our hoping that the education of elderly people is also a priority for European Commission. Now for our second opening speech, I am grateful that the invitation today accepted the Commission's Deputy Director General for the Department of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, Vivian Hoffman. It's exciting that you came today to share your expertise and talk to us about the Commission's efforts in lifelong learning. The floor is yours, Mrs. Deputy Director.
Thank you so much, dear Mrs. Maxová, honorable members of the European Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to this webinar to talk about this very important issue of lifelong learning opportunities for European seniors. Vice President Šuica already mentioned the European Pillar of Social Rights, and notably its first principle that says that everybody has the right to quality and inclusive education, training and lifelong learning. And of course, we work to give concrete expressions to this principle. And the implementation of this principle is also part of the European Commission's plans to make the European education area a reality by 2025. You will know that the aim of the European education area is to further facilitating learning across borders, bringing down remaining obstacles and improving access to quality education. It is to enable learners to move more easily between education systems in different countries. And it is to change the culture of education towards lifelong learning. And we have a new policy framework. Last September, the Commission adopted 2 policy communications, one on the European education area and the other one on the Digital Education Action Plan. So they set the policy framework to support education and training in Europe, highlighting the importance of lifelong learning and continuous learning. And this renewed emphasis on lifelong learning, of which your initiative today is a very good example, must be applauded. Formal, non-formal, informal learning activities for adults contribute to active citizenship, social inclusion, employment, and many other things. They are also crucial for people's well-being and personal development. And this is essential in societies which are aging. They are multicultural, they are fast-moving, and they are knowledge-based. So this all shows that adult learning is a beneficial investment for everybody. And the COVID crisis has changed so many things we took for granted. COVID showed how important lifelong learning is for resilience. And the crisis made the new challenges in education, in society, in the labor market, in people's personal lives, even more pressing. And the crisis showed that everybody at any age should have access to quality education and training opportunities to acquire the skills that are necessary for professional and personal reasons in an increasingly digital economy. And this is particularly relevant for the green and the digital transformations that are changing our ways of working and of living. The economies across the globe become every day more integrated, new skills are required, and again, the Digital Education Action Plan goes hand in hand with the European education area to address these challenges. And when one looks at digital tools and robotization, artificial intelligence, we know that they will increasingly replace what we have been used to, and that the way we behave as citizens is being reshaped by the way we use these digital tools. And therefore, digital skills and digital literacy, of course, are becoming so much more important for civic participation and against disinformation, for instance. And for this reason as well, we believe that lifelong learning is key. So this is why we are promoting continuous learning in all sectors of education, including higher education, and support the creation of a variety of educational offers. And this can also take the form of short and targeted courses that will help people of all ages to update and deepen their knowledge and skills. And in this context, we are working now with the member states to develop a European approach to micro-credentials. The purpose is to support higher education institutions and other education and training providers to offer more flexible, modular, short learning courses and to ensure their recognition and portability by validated micro-credentials. They are not meant, of course, to replace full degrees, but to complement them with these new shorter formats that are sometimes better adapted to people's needs. And again, this is part of our concept of an inclusive, sustainable, long learning dimension in education where nobody would be left behind. And on micro-credentials, we have asked a group of experts to come up with a common definition, and we will soon receive a report and a roadmap, and we'll further work on it towards a council recommendation on micro-credentials for the end of next year. I would also briefly stress that Erasmus, the Erasmus Plus program, has already offered excellent opportunities for adults in co-funding projects specifically targeted at promoting education opportunities and exchanges of experiences for senior citizens. The new program, which will start next year, will provide even more possibilities for learning on a lifelong learning basis, in terms of mobility, in terms of cooperation projects that can help institutions, including, of course, universities of the third age, to reinforce their cooperation across borders. And we also want to make it easier for smaller organizations to participate in the Erasmus program, and will therefore make small-scale partnerships available. More generally speaking, the new Erasmus program will strongly focus on social inclusion, and project activities will aim at improving the outreach to people with fewer opportunities, also people with disabilities, people with a migrant background, or people living, for instance, in rural and remote areas. I would also add that the electronic platform for adult learning in Europe will continue to help adult education organizations all across Europe to exchange best practices for adult learning, including for senior citizens. Now, before finishing, I would just like to thank you once again, Ms. Maxová, the members of the European Parliament, and all of you for today's discussion, for your investment and your efforts in lifelong and continuous learning. Your support is precious for helping any organization dealing with adult and senior education, including, of course, universities of the third age, to make the most of all the possibilities, to make the most of the Erasmus program and all the other opportunities that are available for lifelong education. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your remarks, and I am certain that it's on behalf of all of us when I say that we are more confident now, knowing that seniors have such an ally in you, Deputy Director Hoffman. And now we go to our panel. Firstly, each of the panelists will make their intervention, and after that we will follow by a discussion, including a space for those of you who are present, start the live cast and ask your question through the question and answer form on the left. Please feel free to write your question as the debate goes on. Now our panel. First, I have the pleasure to introduce the Secretary General of the European Association for the Education of Adults, Gina Ebner. She has been a stark promoter of informal learning for adults and seniors, and I am happy to have her here. Please, Secretary Ebner, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for making this discussion possible. As you've said, adult education for older learners is a key topic, and I'll do my presentation. I hope the sharing of the screen works. Okay, and now that, everything okay? Okay, brilliant. Yes, so just a few words about EAEA. We work with adult education at the European level. We concentrate on the non-formal sector. Just a few of our members, the Nordic colleagues will probably recognize Volksbildung. In the German-speaking countries, it would be, for example, Volkshochschule, popular universities, and of course also universities for the third age. We have around 120 something members in 42 countries, so also outside of the EU, and we're a founding member of the Lifelong Learning Platform. I know that you were first in contact with them, but sort of we represent that part of adult non-formal learning. Now, what do we know about participants in adult education? Generally, they are younger, have higher formal qualifications, live in larger communities, have higher incomes, a social network. They see learning as personally satisfying rather than demanding. They have already participated in learning, and they're women. So if you are a man in a rural area in Europe somewhere with a low qualification, let's say you were a farmer, and that means your possibility of, or the probability of you participating in learning is relatively low. So this is something we need to take into account. So that generally the participant in adult education tends to be young, female, and higher qualified. But we need to try and not shift that, but increase the participation of everyone who is not included here. Now, what are the learning outcomes? So what are the benefits of participating in learning? It's been mentioned before. I just want to round it up, and there is quite a lot of research that already underlines that. People who participate in learning, and we're really talking also about older people who participate in learning, they volunteer more often, they have more trust in political institutions, they, for example, they participate more in petitions, political discussions, and as the Commissioner has pointed out, it's a very good thing that she combines democracy. I mean, this, and I think adult learning is one of the keys that brings together those two topics. They have access to computers and internet. They feel healthier and take better care of their health, and they have stronger social networks. These are actually all things that we want for our parents, for ourselves in the future, for people for older people in Europe. When it comes to expenditure and who participates, there are some numbers, and I have to say I need to apologize. The research, or those glimpses of the research, are already a bit older, from the year 2009, but I find it very interesting. This research was done by colleagues of ours in the UK, from then the National Institute for Adult and Continuing Education, and they looked at life stages and how much is spent on on adult education. Now, what they did is they really traced down expenditure, and that is actually quite an exceptional research, because generally we have a good idea what is being spent, but not the detailed idea. So these numbers include personal fees, so if you go to a yoga class and you pay for it, but also expenditures of NGOs, of public employment services, and so on and so on. So, and this is true for that. Let me see, I think I can zoom in. Yes, okay. So if we look at, and that, as I said, that was 2009, this is the population. So you have the younger ones, 18 to 24, that's the lighter blue. We have then the big one, almost 22% millions. In the middle, 25 to around 50. Then we have 16 and a bit in the stage of 50 to 74. And then, of course, a smaller one, the purple, for older people above 75. Now, how is the expenditure? Now, here you can see, obviously, the highest level is for 18 to 24. You know, people are still at school, are at university, are doing colleges and so on, vocational training, that's clear. Then we have the red part, which is still bigger. For the middle part, which is also the busy part. So we shouldn't forget that is really the time where everything happens, families, job, and so on. Then we have the next phase from 50 to 74. And here we already have a much smaller slice of expenditure. And when we then come to 75 plus, it's almost not visible. And our colleagues, and I'm taking their numbers because they did all the numbers crunching, their suggestion is that we slightly adapt that. Now, it's always a bit of a difficulty to say we're taking away from, let's say, the big blue part, because of course you don't want to take away money from young people. That's not the intention. The idea is really a small adaptation towards the higher age group. Now, I'm leaving that here for the time being, but I think it demonstrates that we really concentrate in our education perception on young people, and then the higher up we go, the less of an investment is made. And to be honest, it also includes personal expenditure. So it's also from ourselves that there is less available. Now, let me move to some ideas, recommendations, food for thought. This one is still taken from the study, and you have at the bottom here the book that I am mentioning. So here they say very clearly for those in the third stage, training and education opportunities should be greatly enhanced. They also talk about the fourth age, so the 75 plus. And I have to say, this is really also very close to my heart. There is anecdotal evidence. I know we looked into that, for example, in old people's homes, if you have adult education provision, there is much less of a need for medication. And that isn't that something that we all want? We don't want to medicate our parents, our grandparents, and we want them to be active. So this is really something where we can, I think you also mentioned dementia. You know, we know that taking part in learning pushes backwards the development of dementia. It can't really, you know, it can't do away with it, but it can help it to start later. And here you have again that a shift in the 4 stages, maybe from, in a long term, from 80%, 15, 4, and then 1. Now, from our work as EAEA, I would like to add a few things where we think that could be important. Partly we need better data. Because, for example, the Adult Education Survey, with which we have been working in the last few years, which measures learning in the last 4 weeks, that goes until 64. I have had numerous discussions about that, and the answer I get is that the member states aren't really that interested, or would be interested, but it's quite expensive to extend surveys. The Adult Education Survey in some countries goes until 70, and I think there are even a few that go a bit further. And now in the benchmark, there's the proposal that we move to the Adult Education Survey, but we know relatively little about participation, and it would be good to possibly include a sub-benchmark to see, are older people participating? What are the issues? What can we do to increase participation? We also would like very much to strengthen and continue the European Agenda for Adult Learning. Deputy Director Hoffman mentioned it earlier. The European agenda has been crucial. Now we have in the new skills. Did I say European pillar? In the new skills agenda, chapter 8 is skills for life. And here already we have a strong emphasis on older people as well. And we believe that to continue working on that is really, really important. We do need, as has been pointed out, a focus on older workers. We know that very often companies don't really see it useful to invest in older employees, but that needs to be improved. We also need to focus on life transitions and health and well-being. Resilience was mentioned. I was talking about the 4th age. This is really crucial, but also life transitions. Adult education can be extremely helpful. For example, when people retire, suddenly there's time. Structure is missing. But also, I mean, if I look at my mother, my father passed away in January, and she's now, for the first time, I think, in her life, she lives on her own. Unfortunately, with COVID, it's a bit more difficult, but adult education would actually be an option to go out, participate, meet people. When you get ill, adult education can help you deal with the situation. More generally, we need to ensure that the learning provision is available. We need outreach for people who are less privileged. We've seen people who already have higher qualifications are participating in learning. Will continue. So we need to reach out to those who don't. And we need adult education providers to take learners' voice into account, so their learners' charters, manifestos, and use all the learners' experiences and knowledge. And I know the universities for the 3rd age actually have a lot to say about that. So I'll stop here. I do need to apologize. I need to leave shortly before 4 for a doctor's appointment, another sign of getting older. But my deputy, Francesca Operti, will be here to join the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very interesting experience and recommendation, for great contribution, Gina. I am excited the seniors have you on their side advocating for lifelong learning in the EU. And now we will hear from Dr. Naděžda Hrabková, who headed the University of the Third Age at the Comenius University in Bratislava in Slovakia for nearly 3 decades. continues to work for the Center of Continuous Education at the SET University and is the president of the European Federation of all the students. We are excited to have you here to share your experience. Floor is yours, Dr. Hrabková.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the invitation, and I am very glad that we can share our experience in the subject and of the universities of the third age, because I am working at the University of the Third Age almost for 30 years. For today afternoon, I prepare my presentation on the topic elderly education from the viewpoint of senior students. Can you see my presentation? Yes? Okay. Then European Federation of Older Students was established in 1990 as the European NGO organization. It is registered in Austria and presidency is at Comenius University in Bratislava, Slovakia. The central aim of EFOS is the protection of the interest of all the students at the universities in Europe. Alongside with other goals, it focuses on promoting the access of older people to education at the highest level, at the universities of the third age, and in some countries there are senior academies, for example in Germany and in Sweden, maybe in some others. Universities of the third age are organized as a part of the state or private universities with the professional staff. Some of the universities are private and independent, but often with the link to the university, sometimes with the voluntary staff, and sometimes as a self-financed institutions. EFOS is fostering and securing joint projects for all the students throughout Europe. We realize with our members in EFOS Project Grundtvig, as a former European project, and Project Erasmus Plus under the name EFOSEG, VECU, EduSenet, and actually is a project SELIT. You can see our website below. Thirdly, EFOS is identifying possibilities for using the skills of all the students. What about skills? To transfer knowledge to younger generations, to give lectures to the groups of older people or intergenerally, to search for isolated seniors and encourage them to join further education, to work voluntarily within the senior communities, to do research and be involved in the project realization, and also to share their own knowledge and life experience. As a fourth, it is cooperation with other international organizations that support lifelong learning. We are in a close relationship and partnership with IUTA. In senior education, we signed a memorandum for the support of senior education. We are a member of DANET Association and we cooperate with this Danube network of seniors, which is coordinated by the University in Ulm. And EFOS is a member of the Committee on Aging at United Nations in Vienna. EFOS opens space to seniors to be active politically on a European level. We sent letters to the European Parliament to get support on seniors learning, and we had a meeting in the office of European Parliament in Bratislava in Slovakia when we had an EFOS meeting. This is the first which I can describe. First of European projects, Erasmus Plus project, EduSenet, Educational Senior Network. Within this project, we interviewed more than 4,000 seniors from 11 countries. We analyzed the group of 930 older persons in the various communities and the group of more than 3,000 elderly students. We cooperated 7 partners together. We collected 17 best practices in 6 countries. We published booklet within this project, and it was distributed to other countries. Here is the link to the project and also to the booklet, which is free of charge. You can read the results from this project. What are the reasons for seniors to take part in learning activities? It is about getting new information and more knowledge in different subjects, meeting people and having new social contacts, being more active, improving the quality of life, and overcoming isolation. These are the main reasons. The European universities of the third age offer the study subjects according to the interests of the older students. There are main interests in the humanities, but we can see interest also in the sciences and in the subjects focusing on creative art. At the Technical University in Brno, for example, there is a highest interest in the sciences and information communication technologies courses. Of course, it's a technical university. Other universities show just a few courses on digital technologies. Therefore, in the project EduSenet, which was already mentioned, we asked our senior students if they would like to use new media for learning or self-learning, either at home or in a group, courses on CD or live stream courses. Majority of the answers didn't show the interest, but currently also the older students find out that digital technologies are needed. This fact was confirmed by the answers, where we can see that the social aspect of learning is important for senior students. It is mainly shown in Spain, in Alicante, and it is very important for many seniors. Another project, current project, Erasmus Plus, SELIT, Seniors Learning in the Digital Society, focuses on open education and innovative practices in a digital era, on improving key digital competencies of older persons needed for daily life in the digital society, and extending usage of digital technologies and information communication technologies in elderly education. You can see there is also the website with our results. In this project, SELIT, we have asked about the main obstacles of older people when are using digital technologies and applications. We can see that there are none of the obstacles mentioned by 40% of respondents in Uppsala, in Sweden, and almost 25% in Spain, Alicante. Surprisingly, 23% of participants know no obstacles in using new technologies in Slovakia. The most frequent obstacles are complications to use information communication technologies in Alicante, more than 40%, and it is too expensive to buy and use technologies in confirmed by 27% in Bratislava. Of course, to buy data, to pay data for using internet, it's expensive for the seniors. Project Virtual European Cultural Center developed and practiced methods on how older people can become aware of the everyday culture and how to pass the tradition on to young generation. This is very important to move our tradition and to inform young generation about our traditions. Besides the themes which I mentioned, we collected 161 proverbs in English, German, Slovak, and Latin, and we did a comparison of their meanings. We went to the secondary schools to test the knowledge of the students about the proverbs. We had a lot of fun with the young generation because they didn't know many of the proverbs which we mentioned in a questionnaire. For the conclusion, seniors, by their participation in organized education, satisfy important personal needs: to be active, to be self-realized by developing own leisure or professional interests, acquire new knowledge and skills, maintain physical and mental strength. Therefore, mainly in the time of pandemic, it is necessary to respond to the social digital exclusion of seniors and develop their digital skills and competencies, and to promote the education of the elderly with governmental programs, legislation and financial support. Seniors are in retirement during 1/4 of their human life. Not many countries financially support universities of the third age, and I'd like to propose to pay attention on this topic and influence governments in Europe. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hrabková, for your very interesting and valuable remarks and your experiences and data, because as we can listen, data are a problem for this education. And I agree with you that financing of universities of third age is very important for our society for the future. And now it's my honor that the invitation also accepted Professor François Vela, the president of the International Association of Universities of the Third Age, an organization defending elderly people's cause through lifelong education. We are glad to have you here, Professor Velas, and floor is yours. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. So I am going to speak French, if that's not a problem for you, if interpretation is working as well. So, right. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for this invitation to take part in this very important webinar today. The previous speakers were extremely important in showing the role of the universities of third age, UTAs. Next year will be the 45th anniversary of the foundation of UATs. Today, universities of third age are present in all the European Union countries, but also in 75 countries all over the world. That means 10 million seniors studying all over the world. That means that UTAs today can be considered as what could be the biggest university in the world. First of all, I would like to explain the two models of universities of third age and also explain the problems and the different question marks on the development of UTAs. First of all, the two models. Today in Europe, and in the world, we have two models. The first one is the original one, created in Toulouse. And that is creating within our university a department or a faculty, even sometimes, dedicated to education for retired people. The aim of that model is to make sure that the academic education can be given to retired people whom often have not had the opportunity to study beforehand when they were young. For them, it's like a dream. It's to get finally at university when they retire. So we open universities to all society by satisfying a very important need for seniors. The other advantage is that there is always a mix between young people and aged people. That does not mean, of course, that aged people are going to attend the same classes or they will follow the same courses, but they use the same rooms. They meet each other in the corridors. They can exchange, talk to each other. This creates a social link which is of paramount importance for aged people, of course. It has been developed in many countries, including Italy, Spain, Slovakia, in many European countries. And we have a second model. It arrived a bit later, especially in the UK, but also in other countries, mainly in Northern Europe. Under that model, UTAs are associations, not-for-profit associations, independent from universities. They are giving seniors and retired people conferences, lecture within the framework of the association. The development has been considerable. There are 1,000 UTAs like that in the United Kingdom alone. And what we see is that the relationship with a university is not very strong, not always very strong. In the second model, the academic quality of the teachings is not always guaranteed. It is a form of development that is, of course, fine because it is satisfying a need, but we need to have a proper guarantee when it comes to the academic quality of the teachings. So today, the whole UTAs are done against that in that situation, and the European Union needs to be aware of that issue, the development of UTAs, because recommendations might be useful to help countries guide the development of UTAs. Now, I would like, in a second point, to raise the different issues we are facing in UTAs. I'm not going to talk about funding problems. My colleague and friend Nadeska talked about that, but I would like to raise new issues. First problem, and it appeared very vehemently because of the COVID-19 and the lockdown issues. We realized that in universities of third age, the aim was generally to provide a general teaching, i.e. to help retired people to learn about geography, literature, philosophy, as we do in all universities. So it is teachings for the self, if you like. And we neglected vocational training. That means a training that can be directly used or tapped. And with the COVID-19, we see that many retired peoples are isolated because they can no longer come to the universities and they are struggling to use ICT technologies, as the study of the Bratislava University showed. That's why we need to have seminaries, very concrete seminaries on new technologies. And not only on the current interaction we are having with Zoom, but also on other areas. That means that UATs must be used for cultural well-being, but also for a lifelong learning in a very concrete and pragmatic manner. And this has been really put in the limelight because of the COVID-19 crisis we are still facing today, by the way. Second novelty. When retired people learn, they want to exchange together. That means that they want to discover, either in their country or abroad, new things, new people. They want to learn by traveling. Within the International Association of University of Third Age, we have created a new program called Senior Study Travels. And those journeys are a new way of traveling, meaning that when a seniors group is going into a country, the first thing it does, it's not sightseeing, it's going to the University of Third Age and following conferences, lectures on some topic, archaeology, culture, and then they are going to visit the same topic on the ground that they have learned about. That's, of course, very interesting, and that gives them a completely new vision of tourism, of traveling. It is associated with teaching, with education. They then can come back to the university to put their questions, to talk with the teachers and to the other students, of course. So within all the Erasmus programs, it could be interesting to have different parts on travels for seniors, for example, for their studies in partnership with UTAs. The third novelty now, research. Universities are about teaching, are about pedagogy, but also about research. Hence, we wondered how seniors could bring a contribution to research. And we have two options. First of all, seniors can contribute as seniors. That is, they can take part to research programs with the medicine faculties, for example, which need, for example, to be familiar with senior cohorts, as we call them, and to follow them for a very long period of time, for example, in the fight against Alzheimer. And clearly, UTAs can bring a very important contribution indeed. The second option is seniors as active part of research. Within the IUTA, we have created technology and university of the third age period, where we want to put forward intergenerational solidarity with archaeology students, young archaeology students, and retired people who have a lot of knowledge in order to develop research programs. So these are just a few examples of what we are attempting to do in universities of third age. Let me also add one point. In those UTAs, we are lucky enough to have the support of the directors of those universities, of the deans of the universities. And raising the awareness of the deans on the work of the universities of third age is also very important. And one of our expectations towards the European Union is to raise the awareness of all academia. We know you work with them, and therefore universities of third age could extend even more in all the countries of the European Union, so that they are then present in every university cities. I'm not saying every university, but every university city within the European Union. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm all ears for your questions.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you to your association that helps European universities to provide so valuable service to our seniors. And thank you for your experiences and good points for your from your works. And lastly, before we move to question and answer session, it's my pleasure that my friend and my colleague Atidze Alieva-Veli, Member of Parliament, is joining us. It is always a pleasure to cooperate with Atidze in the Employment and Social Affairs Committee, and I am glad that you are here to talk more about the EU perspective. Floor is yours, Atidze.
Thank you, Radka. Dear colleague, dear Radka, dear Commission representatives, I'm very grateful and happy for being part of this seminar organized by my friend and colleague Radka, which gives us the opportunity to exchange views on the importance of empowering the European seniors through lifelong learning opportunities and discuss different strategies and good practices. I'd like to focus this crucial matter through employment and social perspectives. As already Commissioner Šuica mentioned, according to a report published by the Eurostat, in 2018, approximately 20%, almost 1/5 of EU citizens were 65 years old or older, and the forecast is that this number is bound to increase steadily to 30% in 2070. Rural and peripheral areas are heavily affected by the demographic change, as they have rapidly declining population, with many young people and women leaving these regions in hope to find better opportunities in the bigger cities or abroad. For far too long, we have been neglecting the fact that population of the Union is shrinking, and that can have terrible consequences on the well-being of our society, the competitiveness of our businesses, and the prosperity of our Union. The solutions which could reverse this trend are complex and multidimensional. But by now, this is more than evident that education, training, and lifelong learning for all are of crucial importance. That is also why United Nations clearly outlined them in Sustainable Development Goal 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The creation and implementation of age-appropriate lifelong learning opportunities is vital in order to enhance social and economic sustainability and personal welfare. Therefore, all member states should develop educational and integration opportunities for older people, including online learning. Furthermore, the Commission and the member states should strengthen their support for upskilling and reskilling initiatives, in particular for vulnerable groups. It is paramount to acknowledge that when we talk about seniors, we cannot generalize, as their needs, skills, qualifications, and adaptability differ. This must be taken into account in the development of lifelong learning opportunities. Only doing so will secure that all people, despite of their diversity, will be able to benefit from them and enjoy active aging. In the context of the twin transition, green and digital, lifelong learning will be among the main tools to ensure that seniors are equipped with the necessary skills and qualifications, helping them to adapt swiftly. Here is important to underline the valuable role of the business in this process. It is in their interest as well to contribute to the provision of lifelong learning opportunities. Smart technologies are now used in each and every sector. Moreover, many companies using artificial intelligence and employees are need to adapt. And that is why companies should provide the necessary training of their staff. The possibility created by lifelong learning in combination with digitalization are essential to provide the aging population in the rural and remote areas with various opportunities, including supplementary income. In this regard, the Commission and the Member States should support educational and training programs which will help the seniors to develop skills and gain expertise in areas such as e-commerce, online marketing, and ICT. We need to promote and support inclusive labor market and societies allowing for equal participation and drawing on the skills and talents of all. In this regard, I wish to point out also the need to strengthen the cooperation between the business when developing lifelong learning opportunities for seniors. That will allow us for better match between skills and qualifications that are to be developed and the needs of the labor market. Improving the connectivity and accessibility of services in rural and remote areas is crucial to address the depopulation of these regions and address the social and digital exclusion of the older population living there. That requires from each and every country in the Union to stimulate investment in their local economy, fostering entrepreneurship and improving the infrastructure. The constantly evolving digital technologies have an enormous impact on people's daily life. Great examples are development of e-governance, smart banking, e-commerce, telecare, and telemedicine. To be able to benefit from these digital technologies, seniors should have access to high-speed broadband internet. That is of utmost importance in order to combat digital exclusion and give access to various opportunities for the people, including those living in rural and remote areas. EU policies play an important role in the empowerment of the seniors and their active aging, and member states should use them effectively. As an example, common agricultural policy could encourage and boost the employability and inclusion of women in rural and remote areas affronted with demographic-related issues. In addition, active aging strategies can be supported through the European Structural Funds and Cohesion Fund. The Just Transition Fund could be used for upskilling and reskilling. Many initiatives could be developed under European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development as well. Besides using lifelong learning opportunities to empower seniors, we need to use them also to change the whole perception to aging. More precisely, we need to use them to address age discrimination, encouraging intergenerational exchange and solidarity between generations, and promote voluntary work by younger people towards the elderly. This will improve significantly the cohesion of the society and truly empower the elderly. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Hatice, for your participation, and thank you for your views on this topic, because it's very important for committee employment and social affairs. Thank you very much. And now we will be taking a question from the audience. We saw that on a live stream there was a question about initiative from Lithuania for lifelong learning. It is, I'm not sure if my pronunciation will be okay, Senatve Nera Pabaiga platform. It is for life learning, but during webinar we didn't find anything about this platform. Maybe some of our speakers, you know something about this initiative. If yes, please take the floor. No? Okay. Do you have any question? No. So I have one question for our speakers. In one way or another, you have all experienced and advocated for the betterment of lifelong learning. Over the years, what was the biggest or most distinct challenge that you face or continue facing? If we can start, Dr. Hrabková, can you answer?
Thank you for the floor. There were many challenges during my professional life, but usually there are satisfied senior students which push me further, and also interests of our partners, which we cooperate together in our projects, and the satisfaction of the senior students. When we realize European projects, we involve our senior students into the task and into realization of the project, and then you can see their satisfaction. And it's a big challenge for me. And then I can again write new project and we go further and further.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. François Vela, do you have any experience?
Oui, je vous remercie de la question. Je crois qu'il y a
Yes, thank you very much for this question. Actually, we are facing two challenges. First one is the age. We noticed that in the third age universities, most retired people are young retired people. Beyond 75 or 80, obviously we have a few people over 75 or 80, but they are less numerous. Why? Well, because there's some mobility issues, safety issues as well, and this is why the most elderly don't seize opportunities offered by universities of the third age. So here's the challenge we truly face. At the moment, education stops after some point. We have education opportunities until, let's say, 75, but after it really gets difficult. Then there's another challenge. It might be surprising. It is difficult to bring men in universities of the third age. Indeed, we notice that most participants are women. Not only in France, this is the case in pretty much all the countries. They represent 75 to 80% of the learners. Therefore, well, we've been trying to analyze the situation. People say that men are too confident for instance. But at the moment, this is a challenge to bring men. So we must find ways to attract men so that they take part in universities of the third age. And obviously, we must trigger some interests for them. We don't want to force them to come, obviously. We want to attract them, but these are the two challenges that we are facing at the moment. Obviously, there are other pedagogical issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your experiences, and maybe Francesca wants to anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as Gina said, we advocate for the non-formal education sector, and our main challenge, even though we had many, I think it's how to demonstrate the impact, that the investment that was so important, as Gina explained before, that this impact is there and it should be valuable for the investment. So I think there are two reasons for this one. One, as Gina mentioned, there is little data available, and as she was mentioning, the research she quoted is from 2009. So maybe this is something that we can call for, maybe a bit more of a research on the topic. I think it was quite of a common ground between the speakers, among the speakers today. And the second is the focus on employability that we have been observing in the last years. I think this year is different, and it's also, as mentioned by our colleagues from the Commission, the COVID situation has actually slightly changed that. There is more awareness on the importance of lifelong learning for democracy, for participation. But we have been seeing in the last decade that the focus on employability is still very much present. And I think this is an issue when it comes to showing the impact that the investment in adult education has for older seniors. And a solution that I can propose here, and that we have been seeing that is quite successful in our well, in some member states, and especially represented by some of our members, is to use the learner voices. This is particularly powerful to convince policymakers that if we invest in education for various, of course, reasons, and for various groups, this is actually something that that achieve results, and impressive results even. I think was mentioned before, there was this 80 years old that managed to get an Erasmus Plus grant to study abroad. I think this could be a powerful example. There are certainly thousands of older learners in Europe that can be actually that can testify how life-changing is adult education, and especially non-formal adult education. So yes, maybe a challenge, but also a solution.
Thank you very much for your good points for our next future work concerning elderly people education. And now, thank you for our discussion. And before you go, it's my pleasure that my colleague is joining me and will be delivering the closing remarks. Member of Parliament Ilana Sikurel, member of the Committee of Culture and Education, and a member of the Executive Board responsible for education for the La Republic and March. The floor is yours, Ilana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radka, for the invitation and for organizing the webinar on a very important subject, a subject that is visionary, I would say, because also it is a right for senior citizens as it has been recalled, to have access to education, it is not a subject that it is so often raised. And I want to thank you, Radka, and all the contributors for your involvement at this level of quality. It is a right because, as it has been recalled, the first principle of the European Pillar of Social Rights underlines that everyone has the right to quality and inclusive education, training, and lifelong learning in order to maintain and acquire skills that enable them to participate fully in society and manage successfully transition in the labor market. So it is clear that, of course, it includes seniors. And I like the way it has been formulated by one of the first contributors, that if it is clear that to be able to live longer is a good news, what we have to face and to deal with is how do we manage this good news. And of course, it's clear it's linked to the public health. But I like the way a lot of contributors have insisted on the idea that we have to enable senior citizens to fully contribute as citizens as long as possible. And I want to insist on that. There is clearly no age to learn, develop and adapt skills and competences. Empowering the elder to personal fulfillment and well-being is a fundamental value our union must protect and promote. Our society, jobs and technologies transform so much that we ought to prepare and keep our seniors on board to European excellence and prosperity, and the potential of their personal and professional experience is often left aside. And let's not forget that they carry the knowledge and expertise to transmit to the new generations. Cohesion between new and older generation is essential for our heritage, and I think the European Union can do more in the field of mentoring. There is a clear benefit of having youngsters and elder on the same benches of university. Nowadays, elder face even harsher challenges with the health crisis, where that particularly affect their age category. Anti-COVID measures, the digitalization of our social relation and working environments can impede the participation and inclusion of seniors in our traditional and non-traditional educational systems. European support, cooperation and exchange of good practice makes complete sense in ensuring education and mobility opportunities for the older population. Many national education programs for seniors exist, but the link at an EU level lacks. I see a European education area by 2025 that provides quality education to the elder and guarantees for them the possibility to pass from one education system to another in one and another European countries while developing a lifelong learning culture. In the Renew Group, we support that lifelong learning education and training culture. Concrete reskilling measures and guidance should be provided for adults and seniors, for instance, via their participation in Erasmus+. And on the European Universities Initiative, we would ensure that seniors enrolled in our universities fully benefit from the bottom-up network of universities across the European Union. And the universities of the third age should form part of this initiative, contributing to making Europe an educational power. Let me conclude by saying we often prioritize higher education pathways for seniors, but the promotion of vocational education and training pathways for seniors is equally important, and I thank the Professor Velas to have recalled this. I welcome that the Osnabrück Declaration adopted in Council last week has set a new lifelong learning culture as one of its key objectives, implying that individuals from all age benefit from educational and career guidance throughout life. So knowledge is not only for employment-oriented reasons. Knowledge is a value in itself. Knowledge has to be considered as a way to reinforce solidarity and helping young generation to enlarge their horizons. And I remember during my campaign when I'm very often meeting young people, and there is worse than a young person that has renounced their dreams. There is a young person that have no dream. And I think I am really convinced that mentoring, I mean, is something that we have to promote and to build at a European level. I am absolutely sure that for young people to be in contact with adults that have been passionate in their jobs and that can help them finding their paths and building a network is absolutely essential. So thank you for your involvement. And since we are building this European education area, I think that I thank you because I'm very involved, as you know, with education for the youth. But today I feel really responsible, and I have more deeply understood how important it is to have also this reflection towards these 10 million students that are in our universities in Europe and in the world. And I noticed that women are much more numerous than men. So this is a very interesting field to think about. But maybe women have understood that knowledge has a value in itself and not only for being useful. And that's something that we should not forget, even in the general at the universities for the youth. So maybe it's in a way our seniors being so involved in learning are in a way are reminding us of this very important idea that, okay, Europe is a continent of knowledge, a useful knowledge, but also a knowledge as a value and as a humanist part of our heritage.
Thank you, Ilana, very much for your remarks, for your enjoying of this theme, maybe for the future, not only youth and also for elderly, because as you said, there is 10 million students in this area, and time is now finished. I would like to thank you to all of you for your participation. It was a pleasure for me to be with you and bring or give or take your and my experiences. And I am sure that we will continue with this very important topic for all European Union, for lifelong learning, for elderly people, not only for elderly people, but for all. And for me, there is some very interesting points, as Ilana said, more women than men in this area. Also, that very important is volunteering for education, university of third age. That the other is that we don't have enough data for this people. It's very interesting. And also that we need more education concerning new technologies for elderly people, because COVID-19 shows that it's a problem for our students. And we should work on green paper of aging, because it is also very important. And as Ilana said, education plan, digital education area, and the other very important. And we hope that we will be in touch and go ahead. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Radka.
Bye.
Bye.